Welcome to Wanderlust Wishes, the podcast where we explore the world one destination at a time.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Crystal.
As travel agents with fantastical vacations, we are here to share our passion for travel and help you turn your wanderlust into reality.
From hidden gems to bucket list adventures, join us as we dive into the sights, sounds, and stories of our favorite destinations.
So grab your passport, pack your bags, and let's embark on this journey together.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 106 of Wanderlust Wishes. Today, we're going to talk about family-friendly all-inclusives, specifically in the Cancun Riviera Maya area. One of the things we want to talk through is how do all-inclusives actually work? And then, as I mentioned, we're talking about family-friendly all-inclusives in this area because it's a huge region, basically, of Mexico. And I don't think that people realize how large it is and how many resorts are located there.
There are actually well over 200 all-inclusive resorts in the area. Some industry databases put the number closer to 250 or 300 properties, depending on size and different characteristics. So that makes for a lot of options and can be very overwhelming, especially if you're just getting started. Today, we're not going to deep dive into any one specific resort. Think of this as more of your beginner's guide to family-friendly all-inclusives, and then we'll answer some questions that people who have never stayed at one always ask. I also did some crowdsourcing this week to a bunch of friends. There are varying levels of traveled from not very often to well-traveled, like Europe and Puerto Rico and cruising and parks and stuff. So it was very funny to kind of get their different takes on it. So that will be fun. And then we'll share a list of 10 family-friendly favorites that consistently rank highly with travel agents. This list I refer back to all the time because it's so helpful.
Real quick, before we jump into this episode, I am going on a trip to Walt Disney World this coming Sunday. So Sunday after the episode is posted. Please be sure to follow along at Dorso Mouse Adventures and also at Wanderlust Wishes on Instagram. I also have a TikTok account that's Dorso Mouse Adventures that I'll post to you as well. So I'm committing to Crystal that I'm going to keep up with posting and also keep up with doing on the goes. So we're going to see how well I do at this while we're there. Okay, before we jump into the resorts section of the episode, let's talk about the different areas of Cancun because they all have a slightly different feel.
First off is probably the oldest, kind of where it all started. This is Cancun's hotel zone. It is shaped in like a 7 and is probably what most people picture. There's beautiful beaches, easy airport transfers, lots of activity. You're only 20 to 30 minutes from the airport, but this is like the line of resorts along the beach.
Yeah.
And where the famous Cancun sign is that everybody gets their picture taken with, this is there.
Okay, second on the list is Costa Mujeres and Playa Mujeres. And these are just north of Cancun and have become very popular in recent years. Many of the resorts are newer because it's a newer area in general. The beaches are fantastic and the atmosphere is quieter than the main hotel zone.
Next, we have the Riviera Maya area. It kind of stretches south from Cancun and includes areas like Puerto Morelos, Playa del Carmen, Aquimol, and Tulum. Resorts in this area tend to be a bit larger, more spread out, and you're closer to things like the cenotes, the eco parks, and different excursions.
And finally, Isla Mujeres. This is a smaller island destination with fewer all-inclusive options and definitely a more laid-back atmosphere.
We're both part of a group that they are lovely. They share so much info, so much feedback. They've been to these resorts. They tour all these resorts. And every year we vote on different topics. And for the rankings for this family-friendly all-inclusive list. This is the 2025 end-of-year list. So in order, number 1, Hotel Xcaret, Mexico. Number 2, Dreams, Playa Mujeres. 3, Hyatt Ziva, Cancun. 4, Iberostar Selection, Paraiso, Maya. 5, Moon Palace, The Grand. 6, Barcelo, Maya Palace. 7, Hard Rock Riviera Maya. 8, Royalton Splash, Riviera Cancun. 9, Nickelodeon, Riviera Maya. And 10, Grand Fiesta, Americana, Coral Beach, Cancun.
We could definitely spend an entire episode on each of these because they all have tons of amenities. And I mean, they're popular for a reason. They're on this top 10 list for a reason. But today, we're going to use them as examples while we go through the questions that people typically ask us. Number 1 on this list, how do you choose the right all-inclusive? There's no such thing as the one best all-inclusive resort. You have to look at a lot of different components and find the right one for you.
You could see your friend on Facebook might rave about a dream resort, but it could be someone else's worst time. We see this time and time again. When we're helping clients narrow down hundreds of options, there are usually kind of 3 major questions or areas that we need to check before we dive deeper into which resort fits best for you.
Are you a beach person or a pool person? I know this sounds very simple, but it matters a lot because the beaches in the different areas are very different. There can be areas that have the water is beautiful, but the beach is not so much, or it's not one that you can go out and walk on or lay out on the beach all day. So if that's your ideal vacation is spending all day on the beach, we need to make sure that we look at resorts that have that great beach quality and allow you to go out on the beach, that have chairs out on the beach. And if you're a pool person, there's a little bit more flexibility because pretty much all the resorts have great pools, but some of them have more options like adding in lazy rivers, splash parks, swim up bars, that kind of thing. I mean, there's some of them that have like it's almost like a water park area of the resort for kids.
Julie kind of mentioned not all beaches in this area are created equal. Some may have the soft white sand and the calm turquoise waters. Others may be narrower, rockier, or have strong waves. There's also something in this area called sargassum, which is a type of seaweed that naturally washes ashore throughout parts of the Caribbean and Mexico. It's usually bad in the summer, but it could be March to October summer. And some are just worse than others.
There's something about where the area is, depending on where it is on the shoreline, the way the current moves, it moves the sargassum up and it kind of gets stuck and it builds up in the water and then also gets deposited on the beach. Like Crystal said, it can get worse during certain time frames. So we want to look at what month they want to go and the season that they want to go and make sure that we're considering resorts that kind of take care of the sargassum. We've seen photos of the same resort like 6 months apart where the beach looked absolutely stunning on one of them. And then the other, it is almost unusable because there's seaweed everywhere. It's piled up on the beach.
Some resorts have invested heavily in barriers that they can put out in the ocean or cleanup crews and equipment to manage it. Some locations are naturally less affected, but no one can completely control Mother Nature, unfortunately. So that's why we try to understand how important the beach is to your family. And it's one of our very first questions because, as you can see, there's a lot to consider already.
Yeah, we don't want you to be disappointed to get there and the beach be covered with sargassum. And do you feel like you can't go out on the beach or even out in the water? Question number 2, are you a foodie? Not everyone travels for food, but some people absolutely do. It is a huge part of their vacation. If you're happy grabbing burgers by the pool and eating at a buffet a few nights, then that's going to help us out a lot because pretty much all of them have that type of option. But if dining is a huge part of your vacation experience, we'll want to prioritize the resorts that are known for exceptional food, exceptional restaurants, higher end ingredients, and a wider variety of dining venues. We also want to talk to you about any allergies to consider because some resorts handle it better than others.
This is a good place that resort tiers start to matter. Generally speaking, the more you spend, the more likely you are to find elevated dining experiences. This is not always the case, but often the case. If you're paying super cheap, you might only get a buffet, which is fine if you like that, but we just kind of need to balance that all out.
Yeah, set expectations. Okay, and then lastly, which is a really important one, do you want to relax? Do you want to explore? Or do you want a little bit of combo of both? Some families want to spend 7 days at the resort and never leave. Like they want to be at the pool or at the water park that's on property and eat by the pool every day and do nothing and that is fantastic for them. Other people are looking at cenotes, snorkeling trips, the eco parks, the ruins, catamaran excursions, cultural experiences, all the things. And they want to be doing something pretty much every day of their trip. They want to have some type of excursion or experience scheduled.
Usually, a good rule of thumb that we kind of stick with is that you can usually prioritize 2 of these 3 things. So, amazing beach, amazing food, endless activities, and exploration opportunities. You can absolutely find resorts that do all 3 well, but usually 1 or 2 areas become the primary focus. So, just kind of helping us understand your priorities, help us narrow down all these hundreds of resorts to a more manageable list very quickly.
Okay, so we're going to go through some of the questions that we receive and also some of the questions that Crystal was able to source this weekend from her local friends. Can the older and younger kids both be happy? This was the number one question that everyone asked of Crystal.
Honestly, that's why family all-inclusives exist. The best resorts have something for every age group. You can usually find like a splash pad and shallow play areas for little kids, kids clubs for elementary age children, teen lounges and activities, water parks, sports courts, beaches, pools, evening entertainment for the whole family. But there are some that maybe cater to like the 12 and under crowd a little more, or some that might cater more to like the tween and teen age. So just kind of getting to understand what your kids' ages are will help us with that.
Resorts like Moon Palace the Grand, Dreams Playa Mujeres, and Hotel Xcaret are especially good at appealing to a wide age range.
What ages do these resorts cater to? It really just kind of depends on the resort. Some focus heavily on younger children, others do an excellent job with teens. Some are multi-generational resorts where grandparents, parents, and kids can all kind of find something to enjoy. Shameless plug, this is one of the biggest reasons to work with a travel advisor. The best resort for a family with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old may not be the best fit for a family with a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Absolutely. I have a family going in June. Well, actually, it'll be this month when this episode drops. They have kids that are in the 6, 8, 10 range. And the resort that they're going to, that's the age group that it caters to. So if they had kids in their group that were older, more in the teen age group, this resort would not work as well for them. Next question. Can we all stay together or do we need 2 rooms?
This actually surprises people, but family room configurations vary tremendously. Some resorts do offer standard rooms for 4 people, but they can also have family suites, connecting rooms, 2-bedroom suites, swim-up family suites.
Before booking, though, you always want to look at the actual occupancy limits and the bedding arrangements. Just because the room looks large doesn't mean it sleeps 6 people comfortably. And you also, a lot of times, the room will say it could be this or that configuration, and you can request a particular configuration, but it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, some brands do a better job of guaranteeing your bedding configuration. Others don't do as well.
The suites obviously are going to be more expensive. So you would just want to look at, depending on what you want, because if you want everybody in the same room, then the suite's probably going to be best if you have a larger family versus the 2 rooms. And also the other thing that always surprises me is a lot of times these rooms have double beds. You have the option of having like one king or two double beds. You don't get two queens, you get two double beds. And so it's not quite as large as probably we are used to in most hotels in the United States.
Next question is how far out should we book and how do payments work?
This question we get a lot. For families traveling during school breaks, spring break, Christmas, summer vacation, we are going to recommend booking as early as possible because those times are very popular and they fill up very quickly. It's not necessarily because the price is going to change. Sometimes they do. And sometimes there might be a promotion or something that comes out. But really what you're worried about with these time frames is that there's going to be no availability or only availability of the most expensive types of rooms.
Those family suites, the connecting rooms, swim up family rooms, and the larger occupancy rooms are often the first inventory to disappear because usually they don't have as many as just like the standard. So for peak travel periods, booking 6, 12, even 18 months out isn't unusual at all.
As for payments, most vacation packages only require a deposit to secure the reservation. The amount of the deposit is going to vary based on the supplier and the resort. But after that, once you make your deposit, you can make payments over time if you would like, or you can pay the final balance, the entire final balance, once it's due. It's typically going to be several weeks before travel. I would say like 30 to 45 days is going to be the kind of average time frame for final payment.
I think this is a huge misconception that you need to pay for your entire vacation up front. And usually, unless you're booking to last minute, that's not ever the case, especially when you're booking with us. And then booking early just gives your family more time to spread out payments and you can budget better and just kind of have a better idea of where you need to be every month.
Plus, once it's booked, you can stop worrying about whether your preferred category or the resort you're looking for will still be available. Most of the time, if you cancel at a certain point, you get your deposit back. So there's no big negative to booking and getting that reservation secured.
Next question is, what is the food situation? Food is one of the biggest perks of an all-inclusive. Most family resorts will include a large buffet restaurant, multiple sit-down restaurants, snack bars, coffee shops, poolside food services.
Reservations are kind of tricky because the reservation policies vary. Some resorts require reservations for basically any of their sit-down restaurants ahead of time. And then others, they won't let you do any reservations until you get there. And those operate on a first come, first served basis. And then usually if you have a concierge room or like some type of elevated level of service, those rooms are going to get preferential treatment for reservations. Or sometimes they automatically block reservations for those particular types of rooms so that you have a reservation available, even if you didn't make one ahead of time.
And unlike a cruise, you're usually not locked into any specific dining time unless you have made a reservation. I would say the one thing that costs a little more is like if you want like a pineapple upgrade with your drink situation. Sometimes super high-end specialty coffees, but similar to a cruise, most things are included.
For the most part, there's not as much upcharging for that kind of stuff at all-inclusives as on cruises.
For sure.
Okay, next question. What should we bring as far as packing goes? This is where first-time guests can overpack, or even not first-time guests can overpack. If you're an overpacker, yeah, Crystal's raising her hand over here. You generally are not going to need pool towels and beach towels, hair dryers. Depending on the resort, a lot of them have really nice toiletries like shampoo, conditioner, body wash, those kinds of things. If you are very picky about those things, then I definitely would bring them. But if you're not, like those things will get provided. And it's just nice that not have to bring that kind of stuff. That's always extra stuff, especially if you're flying and you have to deal with like packing that. It's just makes it easier.
Going international, they're a little more strict on the small bottle situation. Pool and beach towels are almost always available. Some resorts have little towel huts where you check towels in and out. You just give them your room number. Others simply have towel stations around where you can grab what you need and return them when you're done.
A couple of things you are going to need. You need to bring your own sunscreen. Most of them require that you bring reef safe sunscreen. So make sure that you're paying attention to that whenever you are buying your sunscreen. Obviously, your medications, anything you need, your prescriptions, anything you need to take on a daily basis, any specialty items that your family prefers. Resort gift shops will sell a lot of these things, but you're going to pay higher for them. So if you already have a little pack of medication like your Advil and antacids, Dramamine, that kind of stuff, like go ahead and bring that stuff with you so you don't have to buy it at the gift shop.
I know of maybe a handful of very high-end resorts that provide sunscreen, but for the most part, they do not. I know that is a question that's always seems to pop up. What about beach toys, floats, and chairs? Beach and pool chairs are provided. For toys, some families bring like the small collapsible sand toys, buckets, but many choose to just purchase inexpensive ones locally or skip them altogether. If you get in the Facebook group for the resort, sometimes people just kind of pass them along as you go. Large inflatables can be hit or miss depending on resort rules. Some ban them. You can't bring outside. Some it's okay. Again, sometimes people just kind of leave them laying at their door when they check out and you can find them around.
Yeah, I would definitely stick to something that's a little smaller. Nothing that's too crazy for the floats. I mean, I can't even have a big float at my neighborhood pool because of HOA rules, so I'm sure these resorts. And sometimes it's about safety because they can't see you when you're in the big, like the really large floats. And if they have lifeguards that are trying to keep an eye on people, it's hard to do that. For the toys, depending on the room that you have, sometimes that stuff can be included, but I would not bet on it. I wouldn't depend on that. Life jackets are going to typically be provided by the resort. It's just a safety precaution that they have to have in place. So you don't have to worry about bringing anything like that either. How important are the extras? So, extras as far as spa treatments, cabana rentals, excursions, specialty dining experiences, those types of stuff. I really think that it depends on the type of vacationer you are because they can definitely enhance your trip and make it better, but they're not required to have a great vacation. I mean, the all inclusives have so many amenities available. You can have a great time without adding extra things. But if you're like, a spa treatment is something that you just have to have every time you go on vacation or, helps you unwind, then yeah, do it. But a lot of times as a family, you don't have to pay for anything extra. You don't have to add anything on. Your vacation is paid for when you walk through the door, except for your tips.
Tip your people. You'll get better service. What is included versus what is extra charges? And this is a pretty big misconception about all-inclusives. Typically, what is included is your accommodations, your meals, your snacks, your drinks, the pools, the beaches, the entertainment, most non-motorized water sports, kids clubs. Typically, extra things would be spa services, golf, motorized water sports, certain excursions, premium wines, or specialty dining experiences at some resorts. And then if you add in at family friendly, you might have like the bowling alley or the jump park, things that of that nature that you can definitely get away without, but you might need them on a rainy day. It might be a few bucks.
Yeah, I was going to say an example of one like you mentioned is the Hard Rock Riviera Maya. They have a huge complex and it's really kind of geared towards tweens and teens that has tons of stuff to do, but you have to pay extra for that piece of it for those activities. Those are not included.
So in that case, some of them have like a little prepay punch card that you can just kind of load your room and have. So it could kind of be an all-inclusive feeling where you just kind of add so much minutes or time or visits beforehand. So we could get into nitty-gritties if you are interested.
So what activities are available? Depending on the resort, this is going to vary widely. water parks, mini golf, cooking classes, dance lessons, beach volleyball, live music, theme nights, foam parties, movie nights, and wildlife encounters. There's tons of stuff that you can do. A lot of places with like the wildlife encounters, they have like swimming with dolphins, that kind of thing. I love that kind of stuff.
Is there a schedule or can we just relax? The answer to this is both. Most resorts publish like a daily activity schedule through their app or an activity board posted somewhere. And you can absolutely participate in everything from sunrise yoga to evening shows, or you can do absolutely nothing. That's the beauty of these resorts.
Yeah, I think sometimes actually, even similar to like a cruise, like they have so much going on that it's almost overwhelming. And sometimes just sit at the pool. And if you don't want to have to choose or you don't have to worry about all the different activities going on. As far as the activities, the water activities that we were talking about, what kind of equipment is available? I think Crystal mentioned that the non-motorized water activities are typically included in the price. That could include kayaks, paddleboards, snorkel gear, sailing. And when we say sailing, like small sailing, small sailboats, not anything major, and water bikes. This is something that does also varies widely from resort to resort. You may have to have reservations for this kind of thing. So you may just have to, typically, you're probably going to just have to go up to like a reservation desk and reserve that morning. This is not something you would have to reserve like well in advance. This is something you can do while you're there.
Is food really included? For the most part, yes. You can typically eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, dessert, room service at participating locations without pulling out your wallet. Always check the specific resort's policies, but the vast majority of dining is included. Trying to think if we paid any extra for any of our food when we went. I believe it was only the pineapple drink was the only, because I wanted a pina colada and the pineapple.
Like, dang it.
Even when we were at the other resorts, though, and a bunch of the ones I've toured, food I feel like is more inclusive than a cruise.
Yes, I would agree with you there. In most cases, I think your specialty restaurants are all going to be included. The hard part is that you getting the reservation. That's the part that is the kicker, is that a lot of times the reservations are very, very difficult to grab unless you are staying at like a concierge level room.
This is the most frustrating part. And there are some resorts that they change their mind weekly or based on the guest of what reservations are required or how to book them and how far out to get them.
And next on the list is, are airport transfers included? The answer is sometimes. It depends. Don't you love that answer? Some resorts will include round trip airport transportation. Other times it's offered as part of a package. Sometimes you do have to arrange it separately. But normally, if it is included, it's going to be a shared service, like a shuttle, a shared van, or a bus. And it could stop at multiple resorts. So it could take you a while to get to your final destination. So you just want to make sure that you're verifying that. The private transportation will take you from the airport directly to your resort. And that's going to be extra, but sometimes it's worth it and it's not that much extra money to add it on to the vacation so that you can get to your resort faster, especially after you've been flying and going through customs and all of that fun stuff. But this is another reason we recommend booking through a travel advisor. We make sure that kind of detail is handled and that your flight information is provided to the transfer company, all of that stuff, all of those logistics. We do all of that for you.
So some common mistakes that first-time all-inclusive travelers make. So just before we wrap up, we thought we'd share some of the most common mistakes that we see from people booking their first all-inclusive vacation. And mistake number 1 would be choosing based on price alone.
Everybody has a budget. Well, most people have a budget. And it is important. And I don't think that we want to minimize that at all. But sometimes the cheapest resort is just not the best value. And it's not going to get you the vacation that you want. a resort might save you a few $100s up front, but maybe it doesn't have all the activities included that your kids want to participate in. It doesn't have the beach. If you're a beach person, it doesn't have the beach that you want. The food quality is just not there, and you may end up disappointed that you spent all that money, because regardless, it's still money that you've spent to go, and it's not cheap either way. That's why we like to talk through those questions that we talked about at the beginning. What's most important to you, and trying to get at least 2 out of those 3 and matching you up with the best resort and trying to get within that budget, but not necessarily getting the cheapest thing, because sometimes you can spend a couple $100 more and get a lot more out of the resort than you would if you went with the cheapest.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard complaints, and then I figure out they went with the cheapest possible option. And I hate to say it, but they kind of got what they paid for, because usually it's too good to be true if it's that cheap.
Yeah.
Mistake number 2 is assuming all beaches are the same. And we did kind of already touch on this a little bit, but it's worth repeating. People often see beachfront resorts and assume every beach will look like a postcard. And yes, some beaches are wide and calm, but some have stronger waves, some are more susceptible to the sargassum, some are naturally more protected. And the beach can be the highlight of your vacation, or it can be the biggest disappointment if your expectations don't match the reality.
Yeah, the group that Crystal was talking about that we're both in, the group of travel agents, there have been so many posts of people posting the view or just the beach that their client has sent them. And it is literally piles of sargassum or the seaweed. And they're so upset and disappointed. And you have to know that that's a risk depending on where you're booking and what time of year that you're booking. It's very important. Mistake number 3, not paying attention to room occupancy. So we talked about this a little bit as well. Just because the room has 2 beds doesn't mean that it can accommodate everyone in your family. Like I was mentioning, sometimes those 2 beds are doubles. And if you have somebody in your family that's, over 6 foot or, something, like they're not going to probably fit comfortably in a double bed. Unfortunately, families of 5 run into this issue a lot as well, because resorts have great options, but they fit family of 4. And so we have to look for a specific, if you're looking for one room, we have to make sure that we're looking at the resorts that have options for families of 5. And it's much better to know that about that occupancy issue, if there is one, before you fall in love with the resort itself and all of the amenities that it has, if the room's not going to work for you.
Mistake number 4 is choosing the wrong resort for your kids' ages. Not every family resort is created equal. A resort that's perfect for toddlers may not be exciting for teenagers. Likewise, a teen-focused resort may not offer much for littles. So just knowing the ages before we make recommendations is important. Don't get me wrong, there are good resorts that cover a wide age range, but there are others that we might shy away from if you have one certain age group.
Mistake number 5 is booking too late, especially when it is around holiday travel and summer vacations. Like we kind of mentioned before, these popular times, they're going to get booked up. If your family wants this room type, then most likely other families prefer it as well. So all those popular room types, family suites, connecting rooms, larger room categories, those are going to go first. Those are kind of in the middle category. And you have either something that is not going to meet your needs because it's too small or it doesn't have enough occupancy, or it's like the most expensive, like grand villa with a butler. Like those are what's available. If you wait too long to book for those really popular timeframes.
Mistake number 6 is planning to leave the resort every day. This always kind of makes me chuckle. People will spend weeks and weeks planning excursions and activities for every single day of their trip. Then they arrive and realize the resort is amazing. So suddenly the kids want to stay at the water park and everyone wants another pool day. And those ambitious plans start disappearing. Don't overschedule yourself. If you want to do something every day, maybe we need to look at a cruise where you're getting off every day at different ports.
But even with cruises, I think the same thing happens a lot of times. The kids want to just go to the kids club, or they want to just sit on the pool deck and watch movies. They don't want to go do all the excursions and things. They are happy as a clam playing in the splash pad on the pool deck, you know?
Very true.
I think this happens at Disney World too. I have people all the time that say, I spent all this money and my kid just wanted to hang out at the pool. Because they have amazing pools and amazing resorts. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you just need to plan it. It's not a once in a lifetime trip, and plan to go back because you'll never get to do it all. Just, you need to go yearly or every 6 months.
Right. Mistakes number 7. We talked about this as well. Overpacking. Crystal is a self-admitted overpacker. Many times, first-time guests assume they need to bring everything. Resorts provide a lot. They do provide a lot of the things, like we talked about, towels and toiletries, and obviously you have your dining options and your entertainment and activities. So you don't have to bring a lot of stuff as far as that goes. Another plug here for travel advisors, we have packing lists for the different types of trips. What are the things that you do need to bring? What are the things that are important to make sure that you have? And then the things that you can just leave at home because it's not a big deal.
And we would be remiss not to mention, you are going to Mexico. There are things you should not bring and may get taken away or might be detained for or have to pay a large fee for. So we probably need to talk through that. If you are going and have questions, we're always happy to answer. They recently lifted this, but it could go back at any time. You used to not be able to take like more than 2 computer devices, so like a computer and an iPad, because that's what the government had in place, and they would charge you if you had a third. So just like weird little things like that happen in Mexico. Mistake number 8, thinking every all-inclusive is identical. This might be one of the biggest mistakes of all. People hear all-inclusive and assume every resort offers essentially the same experience. The reality is that a family staying at Hotel Xcaret Mexico is having a very different experience than a family staying at Royalton Splash, which is different from Hyatt Ziva, which is different than Nickelodeon Riviera Maya. That's why finding the right fit matters so much.
To wrap things up, if there's one thing that we want you to take away from today's episode, it's that there isn't one perfect family all-inclusive resort. There's one resort that is going to be fantastic for your family and your budget and your travel style. And once you find that match, you'll be good to go. And you can understand why so many families go to all-inclusive vacations year after year, because it's easy. It's very easy. Once you find that one that fits all of your needs and fits the vibe of your family, you guys can just go and have a great time.
If you've never stayed in all-inclusive before, don't overcomplicate it. We will help you choose a resort that fits your family's ages, your budget, your vacation style. Some families want the giant water park. Others want a beautiful beach. Some may want endless activities. Others will want a quiet place to relax while the kids are entertained. So the good news is that with so many hundreds of resorts in the Cancun region, there's probably a perfect fit for your family out there.
If you're thinking of booking all-inclusive and aren't sure where to start, we'd absolutely love to help you. Also, we would love if you could leave us a review or rate our show and leave a review. We would truly appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening this week. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We hope you all have a great upcoming week, and we will chat with you all next week. Bye!
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wanderlust Wishes.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.
And remember, the world is full of wonders waiting to be explored. Until next time, happy travels.
Bye for now.